I always talk about two things, right? Math and the Beatles. And hopefully there's a Buddhist subtext to this. So I got a text message from my daughter this morning. She's a math major. Today's a precious day for math majors, people that have studied number theory. I noticed it on my own, but I didn't know how rare it was. Today's 02/02/2020. So it's a palindrome. You read it either way. And what makes it an extra special palindrome is that if you do the month, day, year, or year, month, day, like they do in England or Europe, it's still a palindrome. So it's extra special. And the last time it happened was 900 years ago, November 11th, 1111. And the next one's going to be March 3rd, 3030. So to a math person, this is a very precious day. We get really excited about patterns and numbers. We read The Eternal Now, and I try to have a theme for the day. The reading we're going to read at the end of service is the same kind of idea. We're all dealing with Kobe Bryant's passing. And I thought about it. Everybody's wondering why it's so important. And I had a feeling when this happened. I said, this is going to be just like John Lennon, right? It just keeps building. And I realized I miss Kobe and it's tragic, but when John Lennon died, I really lost it, right? So I was 20 and he died at 40. And I grew up looking up to him. So when he died, I almost dropped out of college. I was so upset. And this is what's happening now. Kobe's, wasn't my idol growing up like it is for most of the young people now. Kobe's an icon, and you grew up mimicking him on the basketball court and trying to have that Mamba spirit. So I wanted to show this film for a long time. It's about John Lennon, and it's called Yesterday. The movie's called Yesterday. And it was very confusing because my daughter took me to it on my birthday or Father's Day. Linda was doing yoga, and I told Emily this is either going to be the best movie ever made or the worst movie ever made, because the premise, when I tell you the premise, it just sounds like it just won't work. And then the other thing is, when Emily bought the tickets on Movie Phone or whatever you use nowadays, the email said, how did it go? It said, today you bought tickets to see Yesterday tomorrow. And Emily and I were all mixed up. Do we buy tickets for today, tomorrow, or yesterday? So it's from the director of Slumdog Millionaire and the writer of Love Actually. So that's a good crowd. So this is the premise of the movie. Yesterday, everybody knew the Beatles. Today, only Jack remembers their songs. So everybody somehow forgot about the Beatles. And what happens is, the science fiction of this doesn't make sense, but it gives us a situation that we need to work through. There's a big power outage. And the whole world has like a 5-second, 10-second power outage. And when the power comes back on, nobody knows who the Beatles are except for Jack. So they make it look like it's a memory thing. It's just people somehow forgot. But as I was watching the film, it seemed like it was more than that. So this is Hamish Patel. This is Jack. He's the one that, he knows all the songs, right? He knows Yesterday. And he's at home trying to write the songs down from memory. Like, how did Hey Jude go? Hey Jude go? And how did Help go? And what were the chords for A Hard Day's Night? And so he ends up getting really super famous, of course, because every day, he goes on the talk show and he goes, oh, I think I'll play something today or yesterday, or I'll play, A Little Help from My Friends. It's like the world is like, they can't believe how quickly he can write these great songs. And then this is his girlfriend. They're deeply in love, but they don't know it. So I love movies like that. They're in love. They have a deep friendship. So this is Lily James from Downton Abbey. Her name is Ellie. So she's kind of the pure character that's trying to get him to live an authentic life. And then Kate McKinnon is a producer, agent, and she plays it really well. She tells him, you write all the songs, and we'll take all your money. So that was her sales pitch. The other funny thing in the movie, you hear that there's a comedy show on Thursday nights called Thursday Night Live. So that's another thing that happened. It's not Saturday Night Live, it's Thursday Night Live. And you're like, okay, so that's different. And then I always forget his name, Ed Sheeran. So he plays himself, and he's really great, but he can't write yesterday something, a little help from your friends, like every 15 minutes, like Jack can do. So most of the movie are these two trying to get together. You're hoping. So the point of the film as you watch it is Jack has to make decisions in life of what's important, right? Is it being famous? Is it having true love? Is it having friends? So it's a big battle for him, trying to figure out where is he going to find meaning in life. And so this is kind of the devil of the, she's always trying to get him to sell out. And he gets a lot of feedback, corporate. I don't know if you know this, but supposedly before Woodstock, you could record in your garage and have a hit song. But after Woodstock, it became more of a business and marketing. And so he comes up with an album called Abbey Road. And they say, that's really boring. Like, why would you name an album after a street? And then he shows them the White Album, and they really hate that. Like, why would you have? And the other funny thing, I think it's in one of the clips, when John Lennon broke up with his wife, Cynthia, they had a son named Julian. And Julian was very brokenhearted. He was 8 years old. And Paul wrote a song for Julian to It's Gonna Be All Right. And that song was Hey Jude, because Hey Julian didn't sound as good. But in the marketing meetings, Ed Sheeran tells him, you should really change it to Hey Dude. and he was going, hey dude, a doody, 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 doody. And Jack's like, no, I'm not changing the title of Hey Jude. This is one of the most famous songs ever written. And they're like, whoa, kiss the brakes, you're a little conceited. Oh, so this is a scene where he's trying to explain to him how he should rename his songs and change his marketing. And so here's kind of a rough trailer for the film.
Hi, we should talk. See, we pay and you write songs, and then you make a ton of money. And then we take most of it.
So, he has to go through all this. They're trying to package the Beatles and market the Beatles. And then the other thing so this is him. He looks like a supermodel now. And they're trying to market him as a brand, right? That's the big thing now. They're trying to create a brand for him. And the look on his face, things are getting away from him quickly. The other thing that I noticed in the film that gives you a hint is there's also nobody knows about cigarettes. I thought that was great. Like, wouldn't it be neat to live in a world where nobody ever smoked a cigarette? There was some guy who took a leaf and dried it and smoked it and say, you should try this. And then we had cigarettes. So there's no cigarettes in the world. There's no Beatles, which is bad, but there's no cigarettes. So I don't know. Would I make that trade? I don't know. The other thing is there's no Coca-Cola. There's only Pepsi. This is the world he's living in. So these kind of freaking out. It's not just the Beatles. And then, this is funny, there's no Oasis. There's no Oasis. So there's Coldplay, but there's no Oasis. And it's kind of a joke because Oasis they're really good, but it's almost like they tried to channel the Beatles. They've been criticized a little bit for being Beatles light, but I really like them. So there's no Oasis. And that maybe you could live without. Oh, this is a big one. There's no Harry Potter. What's her first name? Rawlings? Rawlings? What's her first name? Oh, J.K. It's letters. So J.K. Rawlings, for some reason, forgot to write Harry Potter. So he's struggling with his life, and it turns out there's 3 or 4 other people who remember the Beatles. And he's not sure which path to go down, and one of the people tells him, you got to go visit this man. There's like a guy that lives out in the countryside who I think can help you. And I'm watching this movie, and this scene comes on, and I don't know if Emily's ever seen me cry. I am just crying and crying. So I just wanted to show this to you. It's not that people forgot, it's that they're on a different timeline, right? That the causes and conditions changed a little bit, and for some reason John Lennon never met Paul McCartney on a bus or something. And John Lennon, I think in his heart of hearts, always wanted to be an artist, a great artist, but the music thing took off. And then they don't make it clear, but he said he held on to his wife, he kept his true love, and it almost sounded like he married Cynthia and they didn't get divorced, right? He was able to stay with Cynthia, and he becomes an artist, and he does what he's truly happy doing. And so, it's the movie's kind of asking us, is it better to have been a Beatle, or is it better to live this life? And, we have all kinds of different lives available to us, and they're different, but it's hard to say one's better than the other. They're just different. And there's a whole bunch of timelines out there waiting for us, and we select the one based on little decisions we make. And Kobe's death hinged on some very tiny little decisions that lead to tragedy. The other thing about this film, too, is I thought it was really bad casting, because he looks like John Lennon, but he's way too short, right? Because in my mind's eye, John Lennon is like well over 6 feet tall, and he weighs 220 at least. And I looked it up on the internet. He's 5'9". He's a little guy, but his stature, in my mind, I thought he was 6'2" and 215, easy. My heroes are bigger than me. They're taller than I am. I look up to John Lennon in my mind. And so, and he's basically saying that he lived a happy life. He does art every day. He always tells the truth. And he's just basically happy. And it's the same message that is contained in his songs. So, I kind of have given away some of the movie to you. But I waited 8 months before I shared this so that you could have seen it in the theater. And this film, it's kind of nice. It can't compete with Marvel Comics or DC comic movies, and it didn't compete well with Star Wars. But for a romantic comedy, this movie did quite well. It did really, really well. And so I thought it had a very deep Buddhist meaning of how our lives are changed. So Jack goes and he changes his path, and he releases all the Buddhist music. He releases all the Beatle music to the world for free. So we could use it on the OCBC website and not be sued for fair use infringement. So he releases all the music to everyone through the internet, right? They press a button and it just goes out. And rather than being ridiculed for pretending to be a Beatle, the world really had deep gratitude for him to be able to remember this treasure of art and be able to share it with the world. And he ends up going back to Liverpool, and he marries Lily, and he ends up being a music teacher in a high school. And he's teaching kids to sing Hey Jude and Let It Be and Lady Madonna. And, the movie's asking us, what is happiness in your life? What things would you change? Are you making decisions consciously, or are you on autopilot? And I really thought it was a really meaningful film. And I've noticed that the science fiction of it really doesn't make any sense, but you want to be entertained, so you kind of let that go. The science fiction is just a kludge or a construct to get us into conflict, to get our characters into an environment or a situation that they have to work their way out of. So, I swallow the premise because I really want to see where it's going. So, I think of Kobe. He's one of the top 10 players who ever played the NBA. I don't know what trade he would make. And his life could have gone a lot of different ways. He could have been injured and blown out a knee. He could have stayed in Italy and played in Europe. It's tragic, and yet I don't know if he would do things differently or not, right, if given the choice. And so our lives take a lot of different turns, some of it good and some of it bad. I really think our lives could be different, but I don't know if they'd be better. So, I think there's meaning in whatever road we go down. But it's good to do it with your eyes open. I've always said that you don't want to, I don't want to at 78 think, oh gosh, I wished I'd done that, right? I don't want to do that, right? I really want to make the decisions today and live my life and have authenticity. And so I just wanted to share this with you. I hope it helps a little bit. Maybe someday, I'm sure there's going to be documentaries on Kobe and what he did that morning, how he was with his family. They claim that the reason he took helicopters so much is because he wanted to be with his family more. And I saw Karen Kino over by the social hall right before adult study, and she said, I just got a notice that Kobe Bryant died. And I said, that can't be true. That's got to be, that just can't be right. And then she said, he crashed in a helicopter. And I knew immediately that Kobe died. I knew that he's been taking helicopters for like 20 years. He would fly from Orange County, Newport Beach, to Staples Center, and then go to the game, and he would do that with practices. So this was like a form of transportation for him. And finally, they may never know why it crashed, but they ran into some heavy fog that must have been a lot worse in Oxnard than it was in Orange County. And when that happens, you get disoriented as a pilot, and you quickly don't know which way up and down is, and it's a scary thing. And a lot of pilots they can fly, or they're certified to fly with their instruments, but it's a difficult thing to do. And John F. Kennedy Jr. did the same thing. He got confused which way was up and which way was down, and he crashed. So it's tragic. It's really sad. Hopefully, like Reverend Harada said before the board meeting, the teachings can help us deal with these issues, and it also helps us reflect on what's meaningful in our life, and that we could be gone shortly as well. And so we really want to make our time count. So this is a different timeline, a different world. No cigarettes. John Lennon gets to live to 78. No Beatles. So there's all these unintended consequences with every decision we make. So please join me in Gasho. Namo Amidavuts. Naman Davuts. Naman Davuts. Naman Davuts.